Welcome back to Mental Health Mark. I am joined by my friend Charlotte today. Charlotte, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and what you're up to?
Sure. So I'm Charlotte. I'm 21 years old. I was doing a placement year in London working at a market research company, and I've been on furlough now for I think just under 2 months. So pretty much the whole of lockdown, I've been on furlough.
Cool. And is there anything that you're missing in lockdown currently?
I think just seeing people other than my parents. Like I'm living with my parents, so I mean they're great, but at the same time, like yeah, just not being able to see friends and stuff.
How have you been keeping yourself busy?
A few things. So I did a placement year. I'm actually still at uni, so I do have uni work to be doing, which is really good actually because I think it's nice to have something that you have to do and like a project or anything to be working on. I think going from having loads of work to like not having anything that you have to do was quite a challenge at the start, and then obviously I got into the uni work and that's been quite nice to keep busy. And yeah, and then just like doing things that I guess I didn't really have time for before. I think stuff like piano. I
Right.
did that in school and I hadn't done that for 3 years, so it's quite nice to kind of get back into those kind of things.
Finally had the time for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And are there any other hobbies apart from PlayStation that you've taken up?
Bit of gaming. And then running as well. So that was another thing actually that like when I was working in London, obviously I was getting up so early and I'd get home probably about 7:30 in the evening. And then weekends I'd have time to run, but obviously I wasn't doing it as often. So it's quite nice now that I can get out running quite a lot. And yeah, I actually really enjoy that. So
As you've been furloughed, for most people, it might not be the end of the world. I suppose they're working normally, but for you, as it's on your placement year, do you still have to like have a report on your placement year, or because I suppose
yeah,
it must be frustrating if you're not learning currently.
I think that's what has been quite a shame for me. I was quite sad when I was put on furlough at the start because I was like, you get a placement. The reason you get a placement is to get experience. So I only had, I think at the start of lockdown, I only had kind of 3 months left. So my placement finishes at the end of July. And yeah, I was like looking forward to the end because you kind of built up more and more responsibilities. You're looking forward to the summer months, obviously. And I think being put on furlough, I didn't know whether it was going to be to the very end of my placement. And I think it actually probably will now, unfortunately. But yeah, I think for anyone though, you miss work, don't you? And you miss having the relationship with all your work friends and stuff. So
Sure, I
yeah.
suppose it is that whole case of when you're working 9 to 5, when it gets to the end of the day, you sort of feel quite free and you're not guilty about not working. Whereas
Mm,
maybe now you sort of, if your routine's a bit up in the air, you might be a bit like, oh, well, should I be doing uni work? Should I not be? Sort of thing.
mm, definitely. Yeah. I think that's always the case. Like when that's the thing I've loved the most about this year, I think, is like you do your work and then your free time is actually free time. Whereas I always had at the start of furlough, especially when I wasn't really doing a lot, I always had this like guilty feeling. Even when you sit down and watch TV, I was just like, oh, I'm just wasting my time and not doing anything productive. So yeah, but again, I think giving yourself stuff to do and kind of writing down if you want to get stuff done in a day, writing everything down and just making sure you do it. It's
Sure.
just it means that you're not wasting time.
Yeah, no, it's a really shout. I think when it's on paper, you're more obliged to do it, aren't you?
Definitely, yeah. And I think just like seeing that you don't have as much time as you think you do, because like you can wake up and if you have nothing kind of written down, you're like, oh, I've got all the time in the world, and then it's the end of the day and you've just wasted a day. So it's when you like see things that you want to get done, just makes you a bit more productive and like actually do it.
Have uni helped you out because they must realise that most of their students have been, or a lot of their students have been furloughed or work from home. So have they helped you out at all, or said, this is how you should adapt to it, or haven't really said anything at all?
They haven't really given us advice on like adapting or anything, but they did push our deadline back for our report, which was quite nice. And then the uni are quite good at just saying there's loads of contacts. So I have my dissertation supervisor that I've been in contact with, and I let her know that I was on furlough and stuff, and I can always speak to her, which is really good. So yeah, I feel like I haven't really had to go to the uni for anything, but I was quite happy when the deadline was pushed back, because obviously it's been affected. So
Gives you a bit more time.
Definitely, yeah.
I suppose you've got time now as well to hopefully get ahead on your dissertation for next year.
Yeah, I mean, my course is a bit different because we start our dissertation this year. So my assignment that I have coming up in the next 2 weeks is a dissertation proposal. So I basically have to have a rationale for the research I'm doing and say what I'm going to be doing, which I like it in the fact that next year I'm not going to have to do all of that. But I know a lot of courses will be different, where they'll start next year. So yeah, I guess for anyone who has been furloughed, and obviously now's the time that you should really get a start on your dissertation.
Sure, yeah. I suppose the next like 3 or 4 months when not much is happening, and you've got a good chance to, haven't you?
Literally, yeah. And I think what you don't want is lockdown to end, everyone starts doing stuff again, and you've got to stay inside to do work. So
did work help you at all? Because they must also recognise that they were probably trying to get you involved in loads of different tasks, and then suddenly have to break the news that you're not going to come in anymore.
Yeah, they were so good, actually. My work, they were really good, because I think at one point 60% of the workforce were on furlough. So the company was really quite dramatically hit by it. Basically, market research, if brands are cutting back costs because of lockdown, obviously market research is going to be one of those things. So yeah, 60% of people. So I think 10 in 17 of my team are currently on furlough. Wow. So obviously they want us all to still do all the social things. So my team has Zoom calls like twice a week, and we have a virtual wine club, which often involves like our CEO who'll give an update about where the company is, and then you can like join a quiz, and everyone's got their wine and stuff and they really encourage people who are on furlough to get involved with that.
That's really good, isn't it?
I think it's nice because you're going, well, most people will be going back to work at some point, and you've got all your work friendships, so you want to maintain that. And another thing they did that's really good as well is they're providing training for people. And I think that's good as well, because you can kind of, instead of like putting your life on pause throughout lockdown, you're actually going to put yourself in a better position for when you go back to work.
Develop yourself.
One of my colleagues she mainly does qualitative research, and she's getting training in quantitative now, so that when she goes back, she has like a wider skill set, which I think is quite a good idea.
That's really good, because it's beneficial for the employer and also the company, because I suppose if their employees come back with loads more skills, and when this all sort of eventually blows over, then they'll be booming.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as well, it's doing stuff that you wouldn't have time to do. So, everyone at work, there's always training that you could be getting, but you're so busy. So now's been that chance for people to do that.
Is there anything that you think we can learn from the crisis, given all the suffering, but anything that you think we can do differently going forwards?
Yeah, definitely. I think firstly, it's made us all realise how much we take advantage of in our lives. Just stuff like seeing family, seeing your friends, and going to the pub, like all the little things in life that you just kind of expect to be there. So I think that's quite a nice reminder for everyone. In terms of work, I also think I do think this is really going to impact like how people are working in the future. So the kind of 9 to 5, 5 days a week, 2-hour commute, you know, every day, I think people are realizing that that's not actually necessary, and that's a very kind of stressful way of living that isn't actually needed. Even if you're, I know a lot of jobs you're not able to do this, but if you can do like 2 days a week at home and then have time to, you know, pursue interests or like do your hobby and just have more time for yourself, like why would you not do that?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's almost seems obvious now, doesn't it? And I suppose it's exposed all the London companies because now everyone knows that they can work from home. So hopefully they'll put pressure on them to say, well, is it really necessary that we're
Mm.
tracking in every day?
But I do think it's needed to that you have the balance. So you need to have, for example, young people who are living in a little flat in London, they need the office, kind of, they need to get out of the house. And I think it's, I don't want companies to be like, okay, we're going to completely get rid of our office space, because young people need that and they love the social side of work.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's having the balance so that people do have, you know, the option to stay at home for a couple of days if they want to.
Yeah, more flexible, I suppose. Even
Yeah.
when like maybe if it's like some of the office work from home on certain days, and then come
Mm.
Thursday, Friday, you can go into the office and still have your open bar for you.
Yeah. Definitely needed. Um, yeah, and I think as well, like managers are going to be loving it because they're probably all got their country houses in Surrey that they're working at home in. I think it's easy to forget some people's situation. So yeah, I think you're right. Flexibility and like having a balance is needed.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Charlotte.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
And keep safe, keep sane, and keep smiling.